In recent decades, the competition in some European tournaments has decreased. Because of the lack of resources, some clubs are just unable to compete against richer clubs. That's the reason why the intrigue sometimes dies before the start of the tournament. But if we compare Bayern with PSG, it becomes clear that it is not enough to have resources to dominate the national competition. You have to learn to use those resources wisely. Goal 24 presents the top 10 title-winning streaks in the 21st century. But before we start, we want you to take part in our small quiz. Which of these clubs won the English Premier League title? Blackburn, Tottenham, West Ham, Newcastle? Write your answer in the comments and we get started. Barcelona, 3 titles in a row. Catalan domination in Spain started in the summer 2008 when the Blaugrana head coach Frank Rijkaard was replaced by another ex-Barcelona player, Josep Guardiola. Without any professional experience, the young manager brought a beautiful style to the team, thanks to which Barcelona conquered the hearts of many supporters around the world. But after the first 2 matches where the Blaugranas lost to Numancia and drew with Racing, the fans would hardly expect that season to become arguably the best in the club's history. In May, Barcelona was already celebrating their first La Liga title since 2006. They achieved this result with a record number of goals scored, 105, and 9 points ahead of Real Madrid. After the league title, Barcelona also won the Spanish Cup and the Champions League, making a treble that year. Next year, under Guardiola's management, Barcelona was unable to defend the title of the best team in Europe, but in Spain, they were invincible. In 2010, Barcelona won the La Liga title 2nd time in a row with 99 points, 3 points ahead of Real Madrid. At the beginning of the 2010-11 season, José Mourinho took the Los Blancos manager's seat, arriving as a Champions League winner. This made many pundits doubt Barcelona's domination that year, but in November, the Blaugranas humiliated their fierce rivals 5-0. They finished the first round with 52 points. This was the best result in the club's history. On February 5, Guardiola's team broke another record, winning 16 matches in a row in La Liga, 1 victory more than Real Madrid had 50 years ago. At the end of the season, Barcelona celebrated another La Liga title and their 3rd one in a row, 4 points ahead of Real Madrid. By the way, Mourinho's team scored 102 goals that season, 7 goals more than Barcelona. But in the 11-12 season, Barca's results worsened. This helped Real Madrid stop Barcelona's 3-year domination in Spain and win the championship titles, 9 points ahead of Guardiola's team. Friends, we're doing our best to make videos for you. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications bell. It won't take much time from you, but it will make our work even more valuable. Thank you. Manchester United, 3 titles in a row. Before the 2006-07 season, José Mourinho's Chelsea had won the Premier League twice in a row, and the Red Devils had been unable to become champions for 3 years. Sir Alex did not make any big changes to the team, bringing in only Tottenham's midfielder Michael Carrick. The coach trusted his players, believing in their ability to perform next season. United started their campaign with 4 wins in a row, after which they lost to Arsenal at home and drew with Reading away. Soon, Ferguson's team found their game and showed very entertaining football. Thanks to Cristiano Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney's great form, as they scored 31 goals together in the Premier League, Manchester United were crowned champions by the end of the season, 6 points ahead of Chelsea. That season, the Red Devils scored 19 goals more than Mourinho's team, but they managed to lose 5 times, while the Blues had only 3 defeats. The 2007-08 season was even more successful for Man United, as they beat Chelsea in the title race and won the Champions League final against the Blues. But in the Premier League, the battle wasn't over until the last day of the competition. Eventually, Ferguson's team managed to defend the title, finishing 2 points ahead of Chelsea. In the 2008-09 season, there were already 2 teams competing for the title against Man United. They were Chelsea and Liverpool. Nevertheless, the Red Devils were not afraid to face fierce competition and celebrated their 3rd title in a row, with the difference of 4 points with the Reds. This was a unique achievement for Man United, as they are the only team in the 21st century that managed to win the Premier League title 3 times in a row, and this is a good indicator of a high competition in the tournament. However, in 2009, the key player for the Devils, Cristiano Ronaldo, left the club. This of course hurt Man United's ambitions as they were unable to defend their title, and the Premier League was won by Carlo Ancelotti's Chelsea. Porto, Benfica, 4 titles in a row. The 2003-04 season was one of the best in the history of the Dragons, as they managed to win the National Championship and the Champions League. However, when José Mourinho left the club a year later, Porto was unable to win the title for the 3rd time in a row, losing it to Benfica. In summer 2005, the club appointed Coa Adriaanse as a head coach. The Dutchman's task was to build a real team out of players like Ricardo Quaresma, Pepe, José Bosingua, Raúl Meireles, Bruno Alves, Diego, Elder Postiga, and many others. The new manager brought the Champions title back at his first attempt, leaving Sporting behind with 7 points ahead and with only 16 conceded goals throughout the season. Next season, Sporting was a huge competition for the Dragons. However, Porto managed to defend the title under their new head coach, Jesualdo Ferreira, with an advantage of only 1 point. Next 2 seasons, Porto kept dominating on the national level. In 2008, the team beat Sporting for 14 points. A year later, the difference between the clubs was 4 points, but the Dragons completed their job, winning the 4th title in a row. Unfortunately, the 2009-10 season was Ferreira's last one as a Porto manager, because the team failed the competition, finishing the 3rd, leaving Braga and Benfica ahead of them. The latter ones managed to win their first title in 5 years. From 2011 to 2013, the Dragons dominated the Primeira again, winning 3 titles in a row, but after that Benfica took over, becoming the most successful club in Portugal for some time. Some players of that team were the likes of Bernardo Silva, João Cancelo, Nemanja Matic, Victor Lindelof, Nico Gaitan and Lazar Markovic. In the 13-14 season, under Jorge Jesus, Benfica lost the Europa League final 2nd time in a row. However, they won the national competition 7 points ahead of Sporting. A year later, the Eagles managed to beat Porto in a fierce battle, defending the title and winning by the difference of only 3 points. The 15-16 season, Benfica started with a new head coach, Rui Vitória. In his first year at the club, the Portuguese coach helped the team to win another Primeira title. They finished 2 points ahead of Sporting. In 16-17, Benfica repeated Porto's achievement and won their 4th title in a row, beating the Dragons with the advantage of 6 points. But the next year they were unable to surpass this result. In the 17-18 season, Porto got back the trophy, ending Benfica's 4-year domination. PSG, 4 titles in a row. Before the Qatari sheikhs bought the club, the Parisians had been quite unstable in the national tournament, as they had won the title only twice in their history, in 1986 and 1994. But as the new owners took over, the team was strengthened by the likes of Javier Pastore, Blaise Matuidi, Kevin Gamero and other stars. But the transfer spendings of 107,100,000 euros did not help PSG to win the Ligue 1 title in the 11-12 season, as Montpellier were crowned champions 3 points ahead of the Parisians. Then the Sheikhs allocated 151 million euros for transfers and bought Ibrahimovic, Silva, Lavezzi, Lucas Moura, Verratti and Van der Veer. This time PSG managed to win the title with a difference of 12 points from Marseille. In the 13-14 season, Laurent Blanc was appointed as a new head coach. In his debut season, the French had to face the newly promoted Monaco for the title race. The Monegasques brought in players like James Rodriguez and Radamel Falcao that summer, but despite all their transfers, PSG defended their title quite confidently. They set a record for points, collecting 89 throughout that campaign. In the season 14-15, the main rivals for the Parisians were Lyon. It was quite an equal competition for some time, but by the end of the campaign, PSG had a 12-match winning run, scoring 40 goals and finishing 8 points ahead of their competitors. And a year later, Blanc's team just demolished all their opponents, winning the title 4 times in a row and setting several records at once. The Parisians gained 96 points, scored 102 goals and conceded only 19. No other team had ever managed to reach such results. But despite all these achievements in France, Laurent Blanc was sacked because of bad results in the Champions League. He was replaced by Unai Emery, who had won 3 Europa League titles in a row with Sevilla. In his first season at Paris, the Spaniard was unable to defend a Ligue 1 title, losing the battle to Monaco, at which played the likes of Kylian Mbappé, Bernardo Silva, Fabinho and many other stars. Shakhtar, 5 titles in a row. In the 2008-9 season, the Miners reached a historical achievement, becoming the last winners of the UEFA Cup. They defeated the German side Werder in the final. But that year, they were unable to succeed in the national championship, losing the title to their rivals from Kiev, Dinamo. Back at that time, Shakhtar had great players in the squad: Dario Srna, Fernandinho, Willian and Luis Adriano. Sometime later, the team was strengthened by Alex Teixeira, Henrik Mkhitaryan and Douglas Costa. In 2010, Shakhtar used the higher level of their players and brought back the Champions title to Donetsk, finishing 6 points ahead of the competitors and losing only once in the season. In the 2010-11 season, the Miners defended their title in Ukraine, beating the rivals from Kiev by 7 points. Besides, they reached the Champions League quarter-final that season, losing to the future champions Barcelona. Next year, the battle for the title was quite even. Shakhtar and Dinamo went side by side in the table, but eventually Mircea Lucescu's team proved to be stronger, winning the 3rd title in a row. In the 2012-13 season, Shakhtar's main competitor changed. Oleg Blokhin's Dinamo was a real failure that year, as they finished 3rd that season. Meanwhile, Shakhtar defended their title, finishing 13 points ahead of the Kharkiv's Metalist. But their confident game that season appeared to have a negative impact on the club. In summer 2013, Shakhtar lost almost all of its leaders. Fernandinho moved to Man City, Henrik Mkhitaryan transferred to Borussia Dortmund, and Willian appeared at Chelsea after a short spell in Russia. In the 2013-14 season, Shakhtar was fighting against 2 clubs for the title. Surprisingly, Dinamo Kiev was not among them. However, Dnipro and Metalist were unable to take the title away from Lucescu's team. In May 2014, the Miners won their 5th title in a row in Ukraine. This is still the longest run in the Ukrainian Premier League history in the 21st century. Unfortunately, the 14-15 season ended in tragedy for Shakhtar and the whole Ukraine. Because of the conflict in the east of Ukraine, the Miners were unable to perform on their home ground Donbas Arena and temporarily moved to Kharkiv. The war impacted the team and eventually they lost the title to Dinamo Kiev in 2015, finishing 9 points behind the rivals. Inter, 5 titles in a row. In May 2006, Nerazzurri finished 2nd in Serie A, losing 15 points to Fabio Capello's Juventus. They were crowned champions that year. Raising the Scudetto above their heads, the old ladies footballers were very happy, as they didn't know yet that sometime later all their celebrations would change to sorrow. A couple of weeks later, Massimo Moratti, the Inter president, discovered recordings of Luciano Moggi, the Juventus CEO, and referees in which the Bianconeri boss induced the referees for cooperation. Soon these became public, and the Football Federation decided to relegate Juventus to Serie B and hand their last title to Inter. This scandal was named Calciopoli, and other clubs were also accused in this. AC Milan, Fiorentina and Lazio also could have gone to the lower tier, but they got away only with point reduction. This was good news for Inter, as their chances to win the title in the 6-7 season were as high as ever. At the moment, Inter had such star players like Figo, Zanetti, Materazzi, Adriano, Cambiaso, Recoba and many others. Before the start of the season, Inter decided to make things even worse for Juventus and bought their forward Zlatan Ibrahimovic, as he didn't really want to play in Serie B and was happy to move to Roberto Mancini's team. In the 6-7 season, Inter demolished all their opponents and won the championship with only 1 defeat and 22 points ahead of Roma. Next year, the Romans did battle for Scudetto, but Inter defended the title anyway, finishing 3 points ahead of Roma. In summer 2009, the new head coach, José Mourinho, arrived at Giuseppe Meazza. In his debut season, the Portuguese won the 4th title in a row for Inter, finishing 10 points ahead of Juventus that had returned to Serie A. In the 2009-10 season, Inter's main competitors for the title were Roma again. It was a close battle, but Mourinho's team managed to win the 5th Serie A title in a row with only 2 points ahead of the Romans. That was the best season in the Nerazzurri's history, as beside the Scudetto, they also won the Coppa d'Italia and the Champions League. However, in summer 2010, Real Madrid offered Mourinho a lucrative contract, and he was replaced by Rafa Benitez at Inter. After the failed start of the 2010-11 season, the Spaniard was sacked, but the caretaker manager Leonardo was also unable to help Inter, as by the end of the season their 5-year run was over and their fierce rivals from the same town, AC Milan, were crowned champions as they had 6 points more than Inter. Lyon, 7 titles in a row. From 2002 to 2008, this French club was a real power in the national championship. If you see the list of players that played for Lyon at that time, you'll notice that their domination was more than logical. Eric Abidal, Florent Malouda, Karim Benzema, Juninho Pernambucano, Michael Essien, Mamadou Diarra. All these players made a world-renowned name for themselves at Olympique. It was the head coach Jacques Santini to start the legendary title run in the 2001-2 season. That year, Les Gonds were about to finish second in the table, but in May, Lyon defeated their main opponents, Lens, and won the Champions title for the first time in their history. In summer 2002, Paul Le Guen took over, and it was a very intense battle for the title in his first season in charge. Despite a draw and a defeat in the last 2 match days, Lyon managed to defend the title, beating Monaco by 1 point. A year later, Le Guen's team fought PSG for the title. Despite losing in a match against the Parisians, Le Guen managed to win Ligue 1 for the 3rd time in a row. If in the first years there was an even battle for the title, later the difference between Lyon and others in France became obvious, and by time this difference became even bigger. In the 2004-5 season, the team won the title with 12 points ahead of Lille. In the 5-6 and 6-7 season, the gap was even bigger. Under the new coach Gérard Houllier, Lyon celebrated the title with 16 points difference, at first with Bordeaux and then with Marseille. In 2007, Le Guen manager was changed again. Alain Perrin replaced Houllier. Under this coach, Lyon lost its domination in France, as in the 2008-9 season they fell behind Bordeaux for 9 points and their title-winning streak was over. But it is the longest one in the Ligue 1 history as for now. Celtic, 9 titles in a row. In the beginning of the 2010s, few people could argue that the most successful club in Scotland were Rangers, as in 2011 the Teddy Bears won their 3rd title in a row. Besides, Rangers were most successful in Europe, as in 2008 they played in the UEFA Cup final, but lost to the Russian side Zenit. But since 2012 it all changed. Rangers faced serious financial problems which ended as a disaster for the club. In the 2011-12 season, the team lost their title with a difference of 20 points, and at the end of the season, they had to go down to the 4th tier of the Scottish football system. This meant that Celtic now had no real competition for the title in the Scottish Premiership. The main competitor for the Celts were Motherwell. They were runner-ups for the next 2 seasons. They consistently let Neil Lennon's team win the title with a difference of at least 27 points. By the way, at that time, Celtic had players such as Virgil van Dijk, Fraser Forster and Victor Wanyama in the squad. Also, Celtic made quite a fuss in the Champions League at that time. In the 2013-14 season, the Celts defeated Barcelona in the group stage and got into the playoffs to lose to Juventus in the round of 16. Since 2014, their main opponent in Scotland had been Aberdeen. But this club also didn't show real competition to Celtic, letting them win the title over and over again. In 2016, the ex-Liverpool manager Brendan Rodgers took over Celtic. He had the likes of Kolo Touré, Moussa Dembélé, Dedrick Boyata and Kieran Tierney in his squad. This helped him get the 8th title in a row. In his last season as a Celtic head coach, Rodgers managed to beat Rangers in the title race. The Teddy Bears manager was his former Liverpool player, Steven Gerrard. The Englishman took over Rangers in summer 2018 and 3 years later brought the club and intrigue back to the Premiership. Though Celtic won their 9th title in a row in the 2019-20 season, Gerrard eventually managed to end the Celts' domination and give the Rangers a glorious victory with the difference of 25 points. Juventus, 9 titles in a row. After a failed 2010-11 season, when Bianconeri found themselves in the 7th place, they decided for a desperate move and invited their former captain Antonio Conte to become their manager. The young Italian had worked only with Atalanta in Serie A and had been sacked for unsatisfying results, having worked only half a year. At the beginning of his work at Juventus, the new head coach planned big changes at the club. Thus, 16 players left the club, and with winter transfers, 19 players were brought to the club with the overall value of €101,830,000. This was the time when Stefan Lichtsteiner, Arturo Vidal, Andrea Pirlo and others joined the club, creating the core of the squad for the years to come. In the 11-12 season, the Italian football was obviously declining, as Inter and AC Milan were giving up their positions and were not a threat in the European Cups anymore. And that was the moment when Juventus came into the arena. In their first season under Conte, the Bianconeri won the Scudetto with only 20 goals conceded and 4 points ahead of AC Milan. But the worst part in this defeat for the Rossoneri was the fact that Andrea Pirlo, they had banished last year, became the key player in Juve's success. In the coming years, the old lady's domination in Italy was becoming bigger and bigger. In 2014, they set a record for points in a season, winning the title with 102 points, 17 more than the runner-ups Roma. Next year, they celebrated another title with the same difference ahead of Roma again, but this time the team was managed by Massimiliano Allegri. After that, Juve became even more successful outside of Italy. Since then, the club has played in the Champions League final twice. In the 16-17 season, Juventus won the title with 4 points difference, but scored 13 goals less than Roma and 17 less than Napoli, that came second and third respectively. Overall, Allegri stayed at Juventus till 2018, winning 8 titles in a row. Maurizio Sarri, who had replaced Allegri, brought this number to 9 and gave his place to the former player Andrea Pirlo. In his first season at Juve, Pirlo managed to somehow get into the Champions League qualification zone, losing 13 points to the first place. Interestingly, Juventus' domination was ended by the same person who started it. Antonio Conte, on his second year after returning to Italy, won the Scudetto with Inter, their first title in the last 11 years. Bayern, 10 titles in a row. By the beginning of the 2012-13 season, Borussia Dortmund had won the Bundesliga title twice in a row. Such results were failures for the Munich-based team. Instead of dominating in Germany, Bayern lost the title twice to a team that spent a ridiculous €14,980,000 on transfers from 2010 to 2012. This was such a pain for the board that since then Die Roten have given no chances to anyone else in the Bundesliga, winning the title over and over again. In the 12-13 season, Bayern avenged Borussia for the previous 2 years with no trophies. Heinkes' team confidently won the Bundesliga 25 points ahead of the second place. Also, they won the Champions League final against Dortmund. But Die Roten didn't stop there and decided to weaken their rivals by buying their key player Mario Götze. In summer 2013, Josep Guardiola took over Bayern and won the title in all 3 seasons in charge, with a difference of at least 10 points. During this time, the club stole another Borussia leader, Robert Lewandowski. This move particularly put an end to the threat from BVB. In the 16-17 season, Carlo Ancelotti took over Bayern. Though the Italians' training methods were not very popular among the players, the Roten managed to win the title again, beating Leipzig by 15 points. This became their 5th title in a row at that moment. Nobody had had such a winning streak in the Bundesliga before. In autumn 2017, Ancelotti was eventually sacked and replaced by Jupp Heynckes. The German helped the club win the 6th title this time, beating Schalke by 21 points. Niko Kovac became the new Bayern manager in 2018. In the only full season under Kovac, Bayern was as close as ever to ending their streak, but eventually they won the title only 2 points ahead of Borussia Dortmund. Just like Ancelotti, Kovac was sacked in the autumn of his 2nd season at Bayern and replaced by Hans-Dieter Flick. The German stayed at the club for 2 years and won 2 more Bundesliga titles for Bayern. By the way, in the 1920 season, Die Roten made the treble, winning the Bundesliga with 102 points, which was an absolute record. In summer 2021, Flick was appointed as a Germany national team manager, and the young and promising Julian Nagelsmann took over Bayern. His task was to win the 10th Bundesliga title in a row. Despite quite an unsuccessful start of the season, the new coach completed his task, and Bayern won the 10th title in a row already in April. Considering the difference between Bayern and other clubs in Germany, it is hard to tell when this run will end. To dominate in a championship, you should be better than your rivals, not only in the financial aspect, but also the strategic one. And only in this case your resources will make a difference. And this is the difference between Bayern and PSG, for example. The Parisian club has a huge advantage against others in France, but they lost the title twice in the last 10 years. Dear friends, which streak impressed you the most and why? Let us know in the comments. We're very interested to read them. Thank you and see you soon.